from my own observation over the past 50 years of being involved in trying to think through why we have thousands of denominations all based on the Bible, it becomes rather obvious that the faith in which people are born, in which they're taught extensively, tends to be almost irreformable. It's very difficult for denominations to imagine that down the road there are other folk making something quite other of the same Bible that they're reading. And the only solution, the only safe way to navigate through that problematic situation is to take time out and listen carefully to what other people are saying about the Bible. So let me have a shot at that just for a moment and see what you think. I was born and bred in the Church of England, but we didn't do Bible, really. We did a 10-minute homily, perhaps, on Sunday, but it wasn't strictly Bible study. Here in America, a lot of people are doing Bible study very earnestly. But if you look at the different denominations, they are quite amazingly different. Take the millions of Jehovah's Witnesses at your door. They claim that Michael is Jesus. The angel, the archangel Michael, is Jesus. Now that's really quite amazing. Because in Daniel 10:13, Michael, the archangel, the chief prince, that's the expression for an angel in the book of Daniel, is said to be one of a series, one of a group in that category. Well, Jesus is not one of anything. He's uniquely the Son of God, uniquely the Messiah. So you can rule out immediately any possibility that Jesus could be Michael, the archangel. It's simply wrong. You will not be convinced, I hope, by the argument that in Thessalonians, where Jesus comes back at his parousia, his single parousia, incidentally, after the Great Tribulation, when he comes back, he comes accompanied by the voice of an archangel. That doesn't mean he's an archangel any more than it means he's a trumpet. He's also accompanied by a trumpet. It doesn't make him a trumpet. That is absolutely so far-fetched. It's be incredible. So Jehovah's Witnesses, think carefully about that. The other thing, it's really a strange weakness in the Jehovah's Witness system, is that if you ask them at the door, presuming that they are not one of the 144,000, and that category difference in the 144,000 and the great crowd is itself astonishing when applied massively to the whole of Christian history, since the 144,000 are expressly, presumably, Israelite people coming out of the future Great Tribulation. It's wrong to apply it today when we're not living in the Great Tribulation. And so you ask the dear people at your door about this, and also, and ask, of course, with great kindness. And you say to them, are you yourself coming as you are to the door to teach the Bible? Are you a member of the New Testament body of Christ? And they say no. Well, are you a saint in the New Testament definition? They say no. Well, do you have the Spirit of God? Are you born again? And they say no. I wish every Jehovah's Witness would carefully think through that extraordinary statement. So they're claiming then to be teachers of the word at your door, but they're not claiming to be within the framework that is addressed by the New Testament. They put themselves outside the range of the New Testament. Those are questions that I think ought to be asked, and if people are honest enough and courageous enough, because this does take a lot of courage to change one's affiliation, to change one's thinking if necessary. But that might get to the heart of a Jehovah's Witness who really is on very weak ground, saying that Jesus is Michael, on even weaker ground, claiming not to be a saint or a born-again person. If we turn our hearts now to the Church of Christ denomination, many of us find it quite extraordinary that on the basis of one verse in Ephesians about making melody in your heart, that all musical instruments would be banned from church. That's pretty amazing, since the Greek word psallo, to sing a psalm, implies accompaniment. We know that David invented musical instruments. Are we really right to create a new denomination practically on the basis of that one point? That strikes me as very, very strange. But much more serious, I think, is the amillenarian point of view of the Church of Christ. They're dead against the millennium. Now that's amazing. So many of the earliest church fathers, those Bible church fathers, were classical pre-mill people. They could see that Satan is not currently bound. It's an amazing thing to follow Augustine, who has been highly and deservedly criticized by commentators, It's quite wrong to imagine that Satan is now bound so that he cannot deceive the nations any longer. This is just a matter of plain common sense. Reading the narrative of the book of Revelation, which are words from Jesus directly, prophecy from Jesus, we read in chapter 12, verse 9, that the devil is currently deceiving, or planon, that's his office. He's the deceiver of the entire world. I think 1 John 5 says that the devil is deceiving the entire world. It's the same idea. The whole world lies in the power of the devil. He's the god of this current age. However, in Revelation 20, we find an astonishing event. Following the second coming in Revelation 19, we have an angel arresting this devil and putting him into the abyss. Are we really going to say that he is now then, at that point in the story in Revelation 20, he's in the abyss, and yet currently not in the abyss, but the prince of the power of the air? He's located as the prince of the power of the sublunar space right now. In that later part of the story, he is arrested and imprisoned in the abyss. Those cannot be the same events. It cannot be that the devil is both massively deceiving and later not deceiving to the point of not being able to deceive the nations any longer. There must be a chronological difference between those two things, and therefore our millennialism falls flat on its nose from the very start here. One could add that we are not now ruling the world. It's a heresy to say that. In 1 Corinthians chapter 6, Paul is very upset with the Corinthians because they imagine themselves to be kings and priests ruling with Christ now. That's impossible, Paul says. Far from ruling anything, we're being kicked from pillar to post. He's angry with them, imagining a present kingdom in the sense that the Christians are ruling with Christ now. That will indeed happen, and Paul says rather sarcastically there in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 that it would be wonderful if the Christians were ruling on earth with Christ, and that will happen in the millennium. The whole point then of Christian training and disciplining now and discipling now is to prepare to take part in that royal office, and the strongest term one could bring, the strongest argument one could bring to this point would be Revelation 2:26 and 27. He who overcomes and keeps my works until I come, until the parousia, till the second coming of Jesus, he who does that successfully achieves the goal for which he is a Christian. Then the reward is that he is given power over the nations to discipline them with a rod of iron, quoting Psalm 2.